Hello, hello. Thank you for coming, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
We were just having a very thorough chat about back to school and children going back to school and how exciting of a time of year it is. I wonder if anybody here has having those similar feelings.
Tell us where you're in from. Tell us about your organization. Let's just welcome everybody in the chat. Let's use that.
Yeah, come on in and join us. I'm just adding our spotlight here. Wait. All right. Well, I'm sure we will have several more joining us, but as always, I like to be prompt. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, well, like I said, thank you all for coming to our September MemoryFox webinar. Today's topic, we're talking from welcome to wow. We're going to craft an automated series for new clients and donors. I personally love this topic. I mean, a great welcome series, when you make a donation and you get a great welcome series back, I mean, gosh, it's so engaging. I just love it. It really makes me want to donate again.
That's right.
So I'm really glad that we're talking about it today. So first, let me just tell you a little bit about MemoryFox. In case anybody isn't aware, MemoryFox is a storytelling tool that empowers nonprofits to collect, organize, and share community-generated content. So that's stories directly from your own community members. One cool thing about us, we are a veteran-owned company. We are located in Buffalo. Go Bills. I always like to throw that in there. They have their first game coming up on Monday, so it's a very exciting time for us Bills fans over here. But we do have people that work at our company that live all across the country. So we are a national company as well. And I invite you all to stick around for a few minutes afterwards, and I'd love to tell you a little bit more about what we do. But first, let me intro our guest. If you don't know her, her name is Christina Edwards. She's the founder of Splendid Consulting. She is a lifetime entrepreneur. She's a marketing and business coach, and she works with ambitious, established nonprofits. That is so I love when people use the word coach, because I used to be a college lacrosse coach, so I always just like really resonate with that. I love that. Her popular programs are Easy Emails and Amplify Social Impact. With those, she teaches orgs how to get noticed, get funded, and make lead generation pain-free, which I think we all know there can be some major pain points with that. And then a really cool thing, she's also the host of the Purpose and Profit Club podcast. So give it a listen. Like I said, thanks for joining us today, and take it away, Christina.
Amazing. Thank you for the warm welcome. I want everybody in the chat, just type a 1 in the chat so I know that you are here and you're ready to like dig into my love for email marketing. So I love email marketing. I love it for a few reasons. We're going to talk about the ROI today. We're going to talk about how you can create an email welcome series. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So ready. Yes, you're ready. Okay. So the number one thing, here's why I love email marketing. Why is it so important in your strategy? Or is it maybe an afterthought? And if it's an afterthought, that's okay. We're going to get it to like front seat primary thought today. We're going to work on that. Email has the highest return of any investment on any marketing channel. It's a 4,200% return. Okay. I like to think of social media and email as like peanut butter and jelly. They go together beautifully. I also think that social media is a great way to funnel people on to your email list, but email is amazing because you're not fighting an algorithm. You own the asset. It is yours, right? And it's your place to tap into conversions and tap into people who maybe have already shown some interest in your organization and ask them again. All right. So we're going to dig into that. So after today's session, you'll know how to build trust, engagement, and connections with your donors in your sleep. And if you're like, in your sleep, tell me more. I will tell you more. Even if you've never created a welcome series before. So for many of you, you may be like, I signed up for this training, but I don't totally know what a welcome series is. That's okay. We'll walk you through it. And if you have a welcome series, we're going to like turn the volume up and turn up the conversions on that welcome series. Okay. And maybe you've never, like I said, automated anything before. Totally fine. If you're a beginner, if you're more advanced, you can apply what you learned today. and maybe you're not sure what to say, this is a big one. If you're in charge of any comms, messaging, fundraising, leadership, there are times where you have to tell stories, but the stories that drive donations, right? And it can feel like staring at a blank cursor. Okay. So I got you. And you're not sure where to start. Like, where do I go first? Okay. What do we do first? So if you're ready in the chat, okay. Yes, I see some engagement in the chat. Just let me know. Say, I'm so ready. I want you to stay engaged with our time together. I want you to treat this like $1,000 training. And this is one of my pro tips. I do this in my own life. Okay. So I do this if I sign up for a free training, if I sign up for a free thing, I tell myself, okay, pretend you put $1,000 down on this training. Stay with me. Don't be writing emails in the background. Don't be washing dishes. Don't be cooking a snack, nothing like that. Stay with me, stay engaged, use the chat, ask questions, get exactly what you came for out of the session. Okay. So we're going to dig in. I'm going to share a lot of my easy emails method today with you. Okay. This is about getting your story, your strategy, and the latest trends that are working in the nonprofit sector to optimize conversions. When I say conversions, I just mean that action, whether it's donations, whether it's signing up, it's volunteerism, it's event tickets, whatever. And this is one of my students who said, I'm loving this class. I feel like my batteries have been recharged. So if you're inching into year end and you're starting to feel like teeny bit or a lot of that burnout or overwhelm, stay with me. We got you covered today. If you're new to me, I'm Christina Edwards. I'm the founder of Splendid Consulting. I had a very warm welcome, so I won't spend too much time here. I will say I'm going to push you on some of my core values today, which are daring action, thinking with purpose, and maybe embracing courage and discomfort. Meaning, don't wait for that email to be perfect. Don't wait for you to have like 150% confidence. Sometimes we just have to channel courage and we feel a little wobbly, a little shaky, a little discomfort, and that's okay. Okay. That's what it takes to stand out in email inboxes. And we all live in a noisy world. We're all very, very distracted. So we really have to stand out. You can come hang out with me at splendidatl.com, Instagram at Splendid Consulting, and the Purpose and Profit Club podcast. Let's go over the roadmap for today. Now, I've got a lot of content for you today, but it's on purpose. It's by design. And I really wanted to give you exactly what you need to literally end this workshop and put a welcome series together. I think somebody is unmuted. Will you mute for me, Carly? I hear a little feedback. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so the first step, we're going to talk about engagement essentials. So how often should you send an email without overwhelming new subscribers? The first 30 days is really a sweet spot. It's a really sweet spot on timing. And so we want to make sure, like, how do we not bother somebody, but how do we have enough touch points? Next, we're going to talk about crafting those high impact emails, right? What do I say? How do I keep my organization top of mind? And when do I ask for a second gift, right? And if you're worried about the unsubscribes, we're going to talk about that piece. We're going to talk about the piece of calls to action, things like that. We're going to go all through those 3 steps. So when you leave today, you can go start writing those emails. So tell me if this sounds like you, if this sounds familiar. Are you feeling a little tired, like many of my clients who come to me, of the revenue roller coaster, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys? Year end tends to be the peak, right? But it also is like a stressful peak. Okay. And then those valleys feel like we're doing a lot of work and we're just treading water. One of the reasons why I partnered with MemoryFox is because they help you systematize. They help you get off this revenue roller coaster. Okay. So does email marketing. So does automation. I like to think of it as like a little upfront lift, and then it runs in the background. We're going to talk about that today. I want to just offer that if any overwhelm comes in, that's okay. But the solution is actually pretty simple. Okay. These automations, these tech setups are really, really simple to implement. We're going to go through all of the steps you need to do to implement it. Okay. But it's going to require 2 things. It's going to require that you ditch perfectionism. So if you want your email to be perfect, like it would for the most perfect press release ever, that is your life's work, then no, that's not what it's for. This is an email to get your impact, your mission out into the world. Okay. We're going to make sure there's no typos. We're going to make sure it's spelled correctly. And then we're going to go. We're not going to make sure that 1,000 people pass through and go, yes, it was well done, Christina. No, we're going to channel some courage and some daring action. If that sounds good, type a 1 in the chat for me. So my promise today, you're going to leave ready to write your email welcome series in 1 hour. And if that sounds crazy to you, if you're like, how am I going to write it in 1 hour? Stay tuned, because I will give you the best tip ever later on in today's training of how you can do it in an hour, even if you're like not a natural storyteller or anything like that.
Whoa, I'm excited. You got me really excited right now.
Yes,
That's
thank
awesome.
you. It's a really good hack. So you've got to stay with me to get it. It's a really good hack. Okay, so I'm curious, and if you guys would drop in the chat and tell me, do you treat your email list like a highly profitable revenue source? And if you'd like to share how many subscribers are on your email list, I'd love to see that in the chat. Whenever I'm teaching live, I'll hear a lot of no's of like, it's an afterthought, right? We know we have this email list. We sort of use it as a newsletter. We use it from just some general updates. Maybe we send people an update once a quarter or once a month. And then we see a really big mix on subscribers, from 100 to tens of thousands of subscribers. And I just want to offer, regardless of the number, there's untapped revenue just sitting on your email list. They are waiting for you to like literally knock on their email door and say, hey, how are you? And connect with you. Okay. Felicia says, depends on the list, about 3 to 6K. That's amazing, Felicia. Yeah. Like 3 to 6K is untapped revenue. So we'll talk about tapping into that revenue. First step I want to do is go over this framework and talk about why this automation, why a welcome series literally builds trust in your sleep. Okay. The reason is it operates in the background. So you're going to write these emails one time. That's it. In an hour, you're going to load them on your email marketing system. You don't even have to have my favorite one. You just pick one, right? You may already have an email marketing system. This may be a ConvertKit, a Constant Contact, a MailChimp. There's a bajillion out there. Just pick one and it will automate it and run in the background. I was thinking about this earlier today and I was like, you know what it's kind of like? It's like air conditioning. Air conditioning, I set the thermostat and then boom, I'm not literally turning it on every time I need it. It's running in the background. Now, maybe, once a quarter, I go change the air filter. It's kind of like that. Like your email automation, you might want to check in with it once or twice a year and say, ooh, let's add a little photo here. Let's add and freshen it up with a better story right here. But in a lot of ways, it's like air conditioning. It runs in the background. So that's why I love it. And that's why it's not make-believe. It's not a unicorn. You literally are building trust in your sleep. And for those of you that are thinking, okay, hang on, what is an email series? Let's just start there. Or what is a welcome series? We're going to go over a couple of different rules, but it is a series of emails that go out in a container of time, like a framework of time that go out automated through whatever email marketing tool you're using that starts to introduce yourself, your organization, to that new subscriber. This typically, and the way that we're really going to look at it today, is when a new donor makes a donation and they get into your world, right? They opt into your list. What happens next? Very often, organizations come to me and a donor makes a donation. We've got their name, we've got their email address, and then clunk, they sit on your subscriber list until you send out that quarterly newsletter, which may be 3 months from now. And that's okay, but we're going to do better. Okay. We're going to do better, because the problem with that is if I subscribe, I make a $25 donation today. Now I'm in your email list and I don't hear from you for 3 months. Guess what happened? I totally forgot about you. You're amazing. I love you. And I forgot about you, right? We're going to talk about that sweet spot of the first 30 days. Now, instead of you having to get on the phone and text me and call me and write me a handwritten note, this is something that helps me keep your organization top of mind in the background. You can call me, you can text me, you can do all those touch points if you want. You don't have to, because you got this set up. I'm very visual, so there's a couple of visuals that I'm going to offer for you today. This is one visual of just like bird's eye view. What does the framework look like? So here on the left, you can see emails 1 through 5. So 5 is going to be our example of the 5 emails that you're going to send over the course of these days. Okay. Don't worry about the subjects. We've got a really cool acronym, EEPO, coming at you on topics. The first email, let's just go over this. Email 1 would be a thank you. Hey, I see you. Thanks. Thanks for whatever it is. Thank you for your donation. Thank you for signing up. Thank you for joining, whatever the thank you is. You're going to send that right away. That's why there's no delay. Okay. So if I make a gift, go ahead and send me that right away. Don't delay an hour, a day, a week, or anything like that. Email 2. This is a pretty quick clip. Maybe about 3 days later, you're going to send out that next email. I'll give you another framework for this, like how far to space them out, but let's just look at this one. Email 3, about a week later, and then we're going to go a week, okay? And then we're going to wrap it up. So broad strokes, that's what I like to see. Can you customize this? Can you make it every 5 days? Yes. Can you make it every 2 weeks? You could, but I'll tell you why I prefer you not to. So that's the initial overview. And I want you to just think about this piece of donor churn. Donor churn is something that we're constantly combating and we're constantly trying to figure out. And one of the things that an email welcome series does so beautifully is it helps retain those new donors and really those existing donors, right? It is 5 times more cost effective to retain donors than to recruit new ones. Like, let's just let that sink in. 5x. So remember the roller coaster you're on? You're on a roller coaster when you see a lot of churn because you're literally having to get people in your world constantly. You're like, have you heard about our mission? Have you heard about our mission? And these are people who are like, no, I haven't. No, I haven't. Versus people who are like, yes, I have. Now let me bring you in and engage you. So retention is really, really essential to both scaling your organization and your funding. And I find avoiding burnout. Okay. Let's drill down on this a little more. Did you know that warm leads are 14 times more likely to close than cold leads? So let's think about this. Warm leads are simply new donors and subscribers. So this is from Leadboxer. This is really from the online for-profit world, but I'm adapting it to fit to you. Okay. Warm leads, again, people who are like, oh, I already know what your organization does. I have some awareness of your organization. Oh, I subscribe to your email list. Now I'm 14x more likely to make a gift, to sign up, to buy a ticket to your event, to make a second gift, right? Because I don't have to start that initial, like, who are you? What do you do? What are you about? Like, I've already started that nurturing process when I'm a warm lead. So let's go over some of the initial, what I'm going to call triggers or rules that you might set up for your welcome series. So this is the first very common one here on the left, first time donor. Okay, so somebody makes a gift. That is the rule. So let's just say I make a gift and I'm immediately part of this welcome series. But if I made a gift last year, then I would not be part of it. And maybe I give once a year. I shouldn't be in the welcome series. You'd kick me out of it because I already know your organization. I've been through it once. Okay. So that's that rule there. I get sent that initial email, and then over a delay, over a space of days, I get those 5 emails. We'll talk about what's in email number 5, and then I'm tagged. So you want to tag me in your system. Like in my own system, it's like completed welcome sequence. Christina, completed welcome sequence. So if you look at me as a lead, you're like, ooh, she went through it. She completed it, right? She's been there, done that. And then I exit the sequence. All right, you with me? And if you have any questions as I'm going through it, just type them in the chat. So let's go here. Let's drill down a little bit more specifically. I like to see a minimum of 3 emails, okay? So 5 feels like just too far away and totally impossible. Do 3, start with 3, because we can do a welcome email, we can do a little story and a little call to action, and then we can exit, okay? That's okay. Something is better than nothing. So 3 to 5 emails, they educate, they connect, they develop trust. Just like Carly said in the beginning, she's like, you know, when I feel acknowledged, when somebody sends me an email, like you literally feel connected to the person, even if it was automated. I've been in email automations as the marketer where I'm like, this is clearly an automation, and I love it. I love it, even though I know the person on the other end didn't explicitly write it, because I'm like, man, I want to know more about what you do. Subject lines matter, okay? You cannot do this whole thing and then have a subject line like October news, October update, summer happenings, programs. Like, don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Subject lines matter, okay? Welcome. Yeah, don't call it welcome. All right, let's look at another trigger. Another trigger might be that you have a monthly donation program. So when somebody signs up to become a monthly giver, let's have a welcome series just for those folks. Again, you've got a lot on your plate. Maybe part of your donor journey is when somebody becomes a monthly supporter. Part of what they do is they get a phone call from you, but maybe it's the weekend. Maybe you're out of town. Maybe you're at a conference. So what's the plan for that, right? We don't want you just having to call them from a conference, right? I want you to have this automation that's like, you are part of a club now. We see you. Welcome to the club. Here's what's inside our monthly givers club or whatever it's called, right? And walk them through their own curated welcome series for that specific thing. Okay, you with me? Yeah. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's go over this frequency. So email 1, ASAP, goes straight out the door. Email 2, I'm giving you a long leeway, 3 to 10 days, 3 to 14 days, 3 to 14 days, 3 to 14 days. I want to just know, but my default is 7 days, just space it a week. How does that feel to everyone? Tell me in the chat, like if you're like, okay, that feels like a lot, that feels totally doable, that feels, how does it feel? Okay.
I feel like that's pretty doable.
Okay, good. All right, good. No pushback on that. Amazing. It's okay to add friction. So a lot of times I hear people say, that sounds like I'm going to annoy them. We don't send emails that often, Christina. And if I'm sending them an email a week, that's just a lot. And I'm worried they're going to unsubscribe. Okay. So to that, I say, we want to actually add friction. We do. We want to add friction, especially as you get more subscribers. Those 10,000, 20,000 plus subscribers, even 2,000 subscribers, you're paying per subscriber. I don't want people on my email list that, number 1, don't want to be on my email list, and number 2, aren't reading my emails. So this is actually like a natural list cleaning that you're doing at the front gate. Hey, did you give a one-off gift and we're really not for you, but your neighbor asked you to, and that's why you did it? Cool. You can unsubscribe. Did you give a gift one time and you were kind of curious about us? Well, let me come on in. Let me tell you a little more, right?
I love this. I feel like this reminds me of this other concept I was just hearing about. Like, it's okay to say no to some donors. Like, oh, they're not for us. Like you said, a one-time gift, that does happen, and that's okay. Not everybody's going to come back and give again, but it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. And let me offer this too. Have you ever unsubscribed to somebody and then you resubscribe later? Like, I do this all the time, not all the time, but I've done it in my life where I'm like, ooh, you know, I'm not in the mood for these emails. And then a year or two later, I'm like, what email? I miss them. What are they up to? What's that organization doing? Right. So like, it is not personal. It is business. I don't want your organization to pay for subscribers that don't want to be there. So we're dialing up the friction. We're dialing up that connection point. It's a lot like dating. Like, you want to make sure is a match, right? Before you kind of continue. Okay. The other piece that I want to offer is, don't write and don't think about the 1% who's going to be annoyed. The 1% who's going to be like, she emails a lot. She's blah, blah, blah. Write for the 99% that are like, thank God your organization exists. Right? For the other percent that it's like, wow, I had no idea that that's what y'all were doing. Like, write for your most best, highest raving fan or supporter. Write for them. Don't write for the person that's kind of a grump, right? Don't write for those people. Okay, so here are some common mistakes that I see again and again. There are 3. The first one is ghosting new subscribers or donors. And that's really like what brought us here today. It's just a new person came into your world and you sent them the tax letter because you're supposed to, and they get that. And then you're like, Christina, I'm too busy. No, you're not too busy to set this up. I promise you're not too busy. Okay, totally fine. If this is you, we're going to fix it today. The second one is assuming you're bothering people. Okay, assuming you're bothering people is, again, listen, more than a monthly or quarterly newsletter just sounds like too much. No, we have to literally bother, air quotes, people in order to stay top of mind. The Gap is never worried about bothering me. Nordstrom, not worried about bothering me. Sephora, happy to bother me. Guess what? Those 3 brands have in common. They're making lots of money.
They'll text you twice a day. They're going to just they don't mind at all.
No, they don't mind. And under asking, this may be the like hidden mistake for a lot of organizations. For my already like very comfortable email marketers and communications folks, You're like, no. We send a weekly email. We're doing this, we're doing that. But I often see you're under asking. That's basically like burying the lead, where it is so informative. It is so educational. It is so ripe with stories and pictures and content and more content. And the call to action to donate is like a whisper, right? So under asking is either buried or very, you're like, well, we do it twice a year in email. No. So that may be kind of the third sneaky one that I see. And the fourth one, lacking generic or sounding generic and lacking personality. That is, if I read your last email today, everybody sent me in their email and I got a sense of your sector or niche, could I just sub out the name of your organization and put in another one? Meaning I want to get an email from your organization and go, that's them. They know, that's their voice. That is their unique voice of authority. That's what they stand for. That's who they are. Like, I have a sense of who you are. Okay. Versus it kind of sounds like every organization in Atlanta serving this sector. I don't want it to sound like that. Okay. That's what I really dig into in my easy emails course, is this idea of like, how do I get the strategy piece, but how do I also find our voice? And the voice is sometimes like, my voice is slightly different than Carly's voice, is slightly different than Jen's voice, is slightly different than Aaron's voice, but we may all work for the same organization. And I actually want to give you like a boost to like, let those voices shine on email and not make it sound like an ominous, like kind of watered down one big mega voice. Okay. So you need both. You need strategy and story. I know MemoryFox already knows this. You're like, yes, we need strategy and story. So we're going to dig into the first 30 days. The first 30 days is a little bit like the honeymoon period. I think I've drilled the importance of that time frame down to you. We're going to go into what should you say, when should you say it. But that first 30 days is when you have a chance. It's like your sweetest opportunity to make a long-term connection. Anyone who remembers or is currently dating, like what it was like, it's like you go out with somebody and you think there's a connection, but is there a connection? It's kind of like that, where it's like, is the feeling mutual? And we, as the organization, I want to make sure that I'm at least showing cues that the feeling is mutual. So don't ghost your new subscribers on the first 30 days. I'm curious if anyone here happens to know their first time donor retention rate. If you know it, just type it in the chat. And if you want to guess, type that in the chat, or you could even guess what the average is. First time donor retention rate. Pop quiz, everybody. Take a wild guess.
For me, I've been here in this office since when?
Okay, we can mute. Yeah, can we mute? Okay, good. All right, I'm going to tell you what it is. The average first time donor retention rate is 20%. Okay, that means that only 2 in 10 first time donors make a second gift. And remember, we talked about the churn, and remember we talked about, right, that warm leads are 14 times easier to close than cold leads. That's why this matters, because these are your warmest leads. And that first 30 days is the time to like really invite them in and build that trust. Okay. But if you get them to give a second gift, they are 63% more likely to give in. So think about that. Now if you've ever shopped somewhere, I'm going to use the shopping analogy again. If I've ever shopped at Sephora one time and I'm like, I don't make another purchase, but once I've shopped there twice, I have a login. I understand the lay of the land. I understand what brands they carry, right? I'm starting to be somebody who knows, likes them. I understand what their communication style is like. I understand that I can trust them, that the shipping will get here on time. Like, you kind of inject your favorite brand here. Okay, same thing here. So if you can get somebody to give twice, they've really developed some stickiness, some connection to your organization. So it's really, really important to do that. I want you to just silently repeat after me. 20% is unacceptable. We are not here to be average. Average is boring. 20% is like such a base. Like, we can do so much better than that. So if you're able to find what your current retention rate is, that would be interesting for you to look up so that you can set a benchmark of like, what is our next benchmark? Are we trying to get it to 40%? We trying to get it to 60%. Let's come up with that, especially before year end. So why do we think churn is so high? Let's investigate. The big thing is this idea of the forgetting curve. If you've ever heard of the forgetting curve, tell me, type a yes in the chat if you've ever heard of this. It's actually the science of why people are kind of one and done donors. It's why it's not personal if somebody unsubscribes right out of the gate. It's not personal if somebody doesn't give again. It's this idea of the forgetting curve. So let's dig into what it is. The forgetting curve, the Ebbinghaus curve, is an influential memory model. And it basically says that learned information slips over time unless you take action to keep it there. So if you're like me and like you don't remember what you learned in chemistry class or biology class, or maybe you don't know the sciences, this might be why, right? This might be it. You came in, you took the thing, and you got the heck out of there, right? It basically says that memories weaken over time and that we have to do something to reinforce learning and our ability to retain that information. If we don't do it, we see it plummet. For example, if you've ever listened to an audiobook and you've really enjoyed it, and then you're trying to explain it to a friend and you're like, oh, I was just listening to this and it was really good. And then you find yourself having a terrible time trying to explain the thing that you just thought was like really fascinating. And then you're like, wait, let me go back and listen to it. It's this in action. Your retained information slips very, very quickly. So I told you I'm visual. Let's look at this. Okay. So you can see really quickly, it starts to plummet from that original learning point. So if we review it again, or if maybe we review it a second time, or look at this, look at that sweet spot the third time. Look at that information retained. It's so much higher. Okay. So if you're also like me and you're like, listen, I loved that audiobook and now it slipped away. And then you re-listen to the audiobook, or you've re-listened to a podcast episode. This is another thing. Or you've reread a book that really resonates, or you watched a movie 10 million times and you can recite the movie. This is that. And the best point, and this is really why I kind of lean back and say, if you're not going to do 5 emails, do 3 in a short period of time, is so we can lean on the science to make this stick. So that I want your new donor to have received 3 emails from you in a month, be able to go to a party at their neighbor's house and go, did you hear about this nonprofit in our neighborhood? I had no idea. Here's what they do. And approximately sum it up. Like, they don't have to know that your elevator pitch, but approximately sum it up. And I'm going to guess they may not be able to do that. I probably would be a little bumpy on that after that first time. So we want to make sure that they're able, or even tell a story and something that resonated with them. Okay. This chart is like music to my marketing ears. Yes. Okay. So because it's 5 times more cost effective to retain donors than recruit new ones, we're really going to lean back on this concept of warm versus cold leads to develop that email welcome series. So you may be asking, okay, great. Yes, I'm with you. What type of stories work best? So this is my email theme acronym, EEPO. Okay. If you are using MemoryFox for story banking, then you can pull some of these story ideas from your bank. So the way that I teach all my students too is this idea of, I don't want you on a Tuesday at noon to go, well, shoot, I need a testimonial for our program. I guess I got to go call Jan and ask for a testimonial, or ask her who I should call for. No, I want you to pull from your digital library. Okay. And I want you to pull from that library. Yeah. And yeah, I see I've been there. We've all been there where we're like, I know we do cool things. Where are the stories? Like, where are the stories? I want you to have these banked and then literally curate them to fit into this welcome series. And the biggest thing that I can give you of what should be in the welcome series, like what types of stories should I pull from? I want you to assume that subscribers or, donors are starting at 0. Okay, meaning they don't have a huge amount of expertise or depth in the problem you solve. One thing I see again and again is we often are so in it that we either use industry speak, or we forget that everybody is not very familiar with the problem. For example, even something that like globally we all think we know about, like homelessness. Okay, you really need to think about not explaining what is homelessness, but you kind of could. What does homelessness look like in our community? What are some of the challenges that people specifically in this community face? Like, what are some common, I got a stat that I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm in Atlanta. And yesterday on social media, I saw a stat that literally stopped me in my tracks. It said that there were 2,000 homeless students in Atlanta public schools. 2,000. That's Metro Atlanta. 2,000. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Now, this is me, born and raised in Atlanta, learning that stat for the first time, right? As somebody who supports organizations for people experiencing homelessness, assume we're starting at zero. Tell us about the problem that you solve. Tell us how you address that. Don't assume that I'm an expert on solving this problem. I thought that was really, really compelling, and it stopped me in my tracks. And I don't want to just, if you think about reading a book, don't start me in the middle of the book. Start me at the beginning. Okay, so let's go to the first one. E for educate. Educate is really where you're describing the problem. Okay, so what should people know about you, your organization? What is your organization's why? These are some prompts that you can help kind of figure out what the body of the email should say. What problem do you solve? Literally, why does your organization exist? So do you serve communities only in Metro Atlanta who have teenage kids in high school who are experiencing homelessness? Maybe that's it. Like, that's super niche, but tell me about that. Why? Why is that your mission? So that piece, that first email should really be that educational piece about the problem. Okay, the problem you solve. Let's move on to the next one. Equip. Equip is the solution. What is your solution for this? Like, how are you innovating, pioneering? How do your programs or services address this? This is where you showcase and highlight your solution and your expertise. It should highlight your strengths of your programs, your services. It should demonstrate your authority in this subject matter. Okay, we've seen this, and this is how we are equipping our organization is equipping people to have this outcome, this solution. Proof. It works. Don't skip this. This is really, really important. You want to validate your claims with evidence. Okay, kind of like the science example of like evidence could be stats. Okay, before coming into our program, 3 out of 4 mothers are experiencing this. After, we have a retention rate of this. Doesn't matter, right? It could be a specific stat. It could be a testimonial. That could be proof it works. It could be somebody's story, where we talked about stories, right? It could be a client profile of meet Christina. She came to our organization. She went through our program, and this is where she is today. Like that arc of a story. So any successful outcome, you want to make sure that you're building trust and credibility. So we can do those things through a couple of different modalities. We can definitely build trust through those stats, right? Of 90, when I see something that's like, we have a 98% rate of whatever, right? Efficacy, graduation, whatever the thing is, I'm like, okay, clearly what they're doing is working. Sometimes younger organizations may not have that data to lean on. And that's when we want to move to the data of a story, the data of an outcome, the data of a personal profile. And all of these, let's just go back for a second. Instead of saying like, the problem we serve is people experiencing homelessness in Atlanta, I'd rather you go specifically into meet Jan. Jan came to us and she was living in a long-term motel. She has 3 kids, like walk into the problem. Okay. An update on Jan. Here's where Jan is today. And you could literally use the entire body of a welcome series, just spotlighting 1 or 2 people. So I don't want it to be so broad that I can't connect to it, because we connect to story. We connect to story. So we want to make sure you're doing that. All right. This may be the most wobbly one. This may be the most shaky one, but O for offer. An offer is an invitation to take action. When you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're doing it often and not with apology. So apology is like, if you could please maybe make one more gift of $5, like, and it's wobbly and it's shaky. And if you're on the phone, it's like your voice goes up here. Don't do that. On email, what it looks like when it's apologetic, it's like buried in the email. So we want to make sure that you're presenting your offer in a clear and captivating way. Fictitious Jan, you've told her story. Maybe in this one, you're like, listen, we have a wait list that is, 100 people long with other mothers just like Jan. For an additional gift of $100, you can XYZ. Okay. Be clear on the next action you're guiding people to take. This is one of the mistakes that I see a lot of welcome series make, is that they'll say something like, make a gift, join our free Facebook group, follow us on social media, apply to volunteer. So if you have too many calls to actions that are different, A confused mind, just we exit, right? We don't know what to do. It's unclear, so we don't take any action. You want to also make sure that you're not using such flowery intellectual language that a third grader wouldn't understand it, okay? Yeah, people can't say yes if you never ask. That's right. So to recap, educate, equip, proof, offer. The problem, the solution, why it works, proof it works, and offer. I want to go over some content pillars. This helps me as I'm figuring out like the arc of the story for this welcome series, okay? This is all about standing out and stepping into the thought leadership. So we talked a little bit about the math of it, of like who, what, when, where, why. This is the like connection, the heart of it. And I really have done a deep dive in the last few years of why do some emails stick out and they feel very sticky and I want to donate and I want to reply and I want to take action. And why do some of them feel so boring? And so these are the pillars that I've come up with. The first is being relatable. So think about it. Most of the people you admire on social media, the brands or the emails that you actually read, the ones that you're fiercely loyal to, nonprofits, for-profits, it doesn't matter. You actually feel like you can relate to them. This is when somebody's like, I had my white shirt on for 15 minutes and there's already coffee on it. I'm on my third shirt of the day. Hello, Monday. Like injecting that realness into an email or to a social post is like, everybody's like, that's me. That's me. We've been there, right? The founder, the fans, the community, they feel like they can relate to you. The only way you can do this is by being honest and not perfect. So you have to lean into not sounding generic, right? Otherwise, it's very, very hard to be relatable and connective. The second thing, be relational. So do your donors, clients, fans feel seen and heard? That means a two-way conversation. Now, you may be saying, how do I make a two-way conversation in a mass email? You absolutely can. You can ask questions. You literally can ask questions. And let me tell you, people respond to your questions. It is the best feeling in the world when you send out an email to 10,000 people and people respond to you and they take the time. And it's the best lift in the world because you didn't have to pick up the phone. You didn't have to schedule a Zoom coffee one-to-one. It's such a scalable way to grow your organization and connect and build trust. This is the difference between talking at subscribers versus with. So ask questions. And a big hint on this, don't only show up in my inbox when you want something. So imagine this, Giving Tuesday, Giving Tuesday, Giving Tuesday, Giving Tuesday, nothing. Then maybe a summer update, Giving Tuesday, Giving Tuesday, Giving Tuesday, nothing. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. So you want to be relational. You want to make sure that it's a two-way conversation. The last thing is aspirational. And this is maybe one thing we kind of forget about. And I feel like with nonprofits, it's something I've seen that's missing. You have your vision statement, but I don't necessarily feel like connected to it as a subscriber. How are you painting the picture of what's possible and how your programs or services are literally paving the way to that future? What is the future you even want? Like, can we take a moment and dream together on email? Can you share that with me in a way that makes me feel excited and like I want to help you get there? Okay. And another way that might show up is actively celebrating successes and wins. Okay. And not just fundraising wins, but like successes and wins. I work with an organization and they give scholarships to children with disabilities who may need occupational therapy, physical therapy, things like that. And one of the celebrations we really talked about was this idea of the first time a child holds a spoon and can feed themselves unassisted, right? Huge milestone for a parent. What does that mean? What is that celebration? And it's like, that is one of those celebrations. I'm like, we could write a whole email about that because it's like these tiny moments that transform families. What does that mean? That means the mother can eat dinner at the same time the child is eating dinner because the mother isn't feeding the child. Huge win. Anyone who's in occupational therapy is like, yes, right now, right? Those are like the wins. The win, and I want to bring that up because the win isn't always, we built the building, we purchased the property, we, funded the thing. The win is one child holding a spoon for the first time ever, right? That's a win. So think about that. You could write a list of wins for your organization. What are they? The big and the small. So let's kind of drill down on some topics now that we've put this framework together. We're in the home stretch, I promise. So we've got your thank you, your educate, your equip, your proof, your offer, and this is leading into that call to action. What is the next step you want them to take? Okay. what's possible. And I like to think of this overview as when you go to the movies, the actual arc of seeing the movie versus when you go to the movies and the previews, you go to see like a Disney movie and then the previews are like a horror movie, a rom-com, a drama, and you're like, what is happening? Okay, so I don't want this to feel like the previews. I want it to feel like the movie, like the arc of the movie is all together. Let's look at some examples. This is one of my easy emails students. This is the Live Like Lou Foundation. And I just wanted to show like how some of these pillars and how some of these storytelling ideas showed up. So the first thing that they did in their welcome series was very, very relational. And one of the things I liked here is they almost identified, here's what you can expect. Welcome to our world. Here's what we're going to tell you in this email. Or you can say in your welcome series, hey, in the next few emails, I'm going to be sharing X, Y, and Z, almost letting them know, here's what you can expect. Equip, that is the why. Why live like Lou? They talk a little bit here about the founder, famous Lou Gehrig, right? The American sports icon. They go into a little bit about him if you didn't know about it. They have a lot of people who do peer-to-peer fundraising, right? So peer-to-peer fundraising, we know these are people who may not be familiar with Lou Gehrig's, right? They may not. So how do we loop them in? And that's what they did right here. ALS. In case you didn't know, this is what happens, right? And I also want to offer, they go straight to the heart, which is right now, there is no cure for ALS. And they didn't sugarcoat that, but they're building the community. They're building into their story why their work matters, even though right now they're talking about funding the research, the problem they solve. So this is a really well done welcome series. I also wanted this to show you this one in the wild. Who here loves a Bombas sock? Oh my gosh. Bombas is always happy to send me an email. They are never worried about sending too many emails, but I really did like this one. It jumped out in my inbox for a few reasons. I loved the picture. So they say this is Ryan. They said, like many kids who grew up in shelters, Ryan faced extreme stigmatization at school before eventually dropping out. Education. What's the problem? What happened? And I like the way that they tell Ryan's story here through this, almost through this timeline. And I wanted to show you this because for anyone who's like, I'm not really the most comfortable storyteller, amazing. You don't have to be the most comfortable storyteller. Pull from your MemoryFox library and tell Ryan's story, tell a story of impact in a way that is through their eyes, in their words, as quotes, as testimonials. You don't even have to fill out a story. They literally, it's right here for you. So I loved that piece on the educate, equip. This is really talking about the next step. And down here, they didn't totally do it with, they talked a little bit about their proof, but this would be a great place to have a visual stat of proof. Like I said, 3 out of 4 people experience blah, 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 or, we have a 98% success rate or something like that. Great, really well done. Okay, so let's recap. We've learned a lot. Social proof, credibility markers. You may also want to include those in your emails. You want to share the wins, the testimonials. Use the word you often. Personalize. Do not say hi there. Do not say hi there. Say hi, Christina, or hello, or whatever your favorite salutation is, but don't just say hi there. And here's my time hack for you. You've already written the emails. Look at the top emails for the last 12 months that you've written. Yes, it's here, Natalie. This is it. Look at the top emails from the last 12 months. Go look at the ones that got the highest click-through rates, the highest click rates, highest open rates. That story, that juicy story that you wrote about Ryan 12 months ago, 8 months ago, pull that, adapt it so it's evergreen, meaning it's appropriate year-round. So if you're talking about Ryan's story and it's specifically leading into a call to action about October, take that call to action out. The meat of the story is still there, and you're going to put together your email sequence that way, your email series that way. You've already written the emails. My own freebies, when you opt on my list and you download a free resource from me and you go through my welcome series, these are emails that I've written a year ago, 2 years ago, where I'm like, you know what? People liked that. They engaged with it, or I felt that this told a story that really aligns with who I am, the values, and what I offer. This is a piece of work that I'm going to use again. I do not sit at my desk and say, what should be in my email welcome series? I just literally pull from the ones I've already written. So you have those. And if you're like, Christina, we don't have those on email, guess where you have them? You have them on social. So pull the exact same story that was from an awesome Facebook post 8 months ago, and you're going to take that content, take that clip, take that image, and stick it into one of your pieces. Okay. So I'm curious if you knew this. Did you know that your email list could be booking major donor meetings? This has actually happened for several of my students in Easy Emails, and is the reason why I'm passionate about email marketing. Okay. Email marketing, like we said, develops trust. These are people that are already warm. When you are telling your story and you're telling it often, you get replies to emails. Okay. You get to replies to emails for donor meetings, for, ooh, I've been meaning to call you. Ooh, I have a question about that. And it results in things like 10K gifts. This is a true story. These are not unicorns. These are clients that I love to celebrate. So let's dig into the last piece, which is when to ask. The first is, don't be scared to make an offer more than once. You can wait months and months for people to ask, but I think I've sold you on why you should ask in that sweet spot in the first 30 to 60 days. And offer and ask, the next step is just an invitation. Hey, they don't have to make a gift, but if they want to, let's give them the invitation and let's guide them to that next step. It's not a marriage proposal. It is just the foundation of how they can deepen their relationship. I know I've given a small gift to organizations just as a one-off that I actually care deeply about. And it's like, I'm waiting for that next step. Okay, what do you need? How can I help? So the couple of quick tips on this: don't bury the invite or offer. Add more than one link. So in that email, that 5th email, add more than one link. Donate today. Add it more than once, because 6 links in one email led to 10% more clicks to that form. And I don't mean 6 links that took you to different places, like our Facebook group and our donate button and our events and our volunteers. I mean, literally in the body of the email, if there are 6 ways that I could click and end up on that donation form, it had a 10% higher conversion rate. Okay. So you want to make sure, again, we're not burying that lead. And here's what I want you to just repeat after me, because usually there's somebody who's like, oh my God, we should have been doing this years ago. I feel terrible. No. Say it with me. It's never too late. Okay. Not too late. You can start this at any point. You can thank somebody a year later. My neighbors have been married for 14 years. Last year, they had somebody mail them a wedding present. I was like, that's amazing. My neighbor messaged me and said, hey, there's a present on our porch. We're out of town. Can you come grab it? I said, yes. She said, apparently it's a wedding gift. Amazing. You can thank somebody years later, apparently 14 years later. It's never too late. You can be real, cheeky, tell the truth on what took so long. You can literally say that. Listen, we've been in the weeds building out this program. Good news, it's built out. Here's what we've been up to. I want to take this moment to introduce myself. This is what I do here. And I'm going to, over the next couple of weeks, tell you about our organization. Boom, put them in the email welcome series. It's not too late. Okay. If you're also ready to crush that first time retention rate, because I think we're all ready to crush 20% is no good. You're also ready to use powerful email marketing strategies, including the EEPO acronym, to build out those stories, the content pillars, to offer unapologetically and often. How we feeling? Let's do like a quick check-in. And I like to go through all of my webinars and say, what is the number one action that you want to take from this workshop today? So pick one thing. What resonated with you? Tell me in the chat. Jessica, Connie, Tracy, Jen, I'm going to call on you. Tell me in the chat, what is one thing that you're like, okay, I want to do that.
Well, hey, I'll kick it off because I know what I'm going to do.
Hey,
so
tell
right
me.
now, our welcome series, I have 3 emails and I'm going to make it 5. So that's what
Yay!
That's my number one thing. You have changed my mind. I'm making it 5.
Amazing. Okay. I love it. So exciting. I'm going to drop in a couple things about how we can fast track your success. This is one thing. If you're like, I wish that I had templates for this, I have templates. I will drop in this link in the chat. These are done for you templates and a little video training on how to just have a little bit more support and getting it done. We'll also want to offer, don't be afraid to break the rules. Okay. There is no one right way. There is no one right way. There is the way that you decide is right. And I'd rather you just get into action mode than into like draft mode. Okay. If you want some extra help on email marketing, I'm going to tell you a bit about my course. And if there are any questions about today's training, go ahead and drop them in the chat. If you wish you were turning heads in email inboxes, like I know so many organizations would, I want to invite you to deepen what we've learned today in Easy Emails for Impact. We have a huge sale just for you guys, just for a few days. I will also drop that in the chat. If you use code MemoryFox at checkout, you'll save 40%. In this in this course, it is an entire year access. It's really designed to up-level your email marketing. So we go over campaign conversions, how to write powerful messages in minutes. We talk about the voice, the vision, getting your time back. We talk about the data, the metrics that matter, which ones don't, how to build your email list. We go into all of those pieces, how to really get emails formatted and readable, because a lot of what I'm seeing are these very, very long emails. We actually don't need long emails anymore. We move more short, frequent emails, which I find most people are relieved to hear, so that it doesn't have to be that long, super long newsletter update. Okay. We also talk about cash generating calls to action. Cause like I said, when you work with me, one of my primary goals is visibility and revenue. If we can grow your revenue, we can grow your visibility, then I know that we can help you achieve what it is that powerful mission and vision is down the road. All right, let's see. I've got some fun bonuses. Who here is using ChatGPT? Anyone? Yeah. Yes. Yes. So I put together a training on that, because I was like, how do we use ChatGPT to help us write emails? And I actually like to think of it as my assistant. So that's in there. We've got a community Facebook group. I know we're I'm going to go through these pretty fast. Jane saw a huge transformation in both the story she told and the frequency. She had an amazing response rate, and she's really done an amazing job in sending more emails, deepening emails. And I'm finding that it's seeding her donors, who are both individual donors and major donors throughout the year, for those donor conversations. Yeah, so fun. And I just want to offer, whatever your list size is right now, you actually don't need a bigger list. And this is one of the biggest aha moments, and why I love email marketing, is because people are already sitting on your list just waiting. They're just waiting. Don't make them come out once a year for Giving Tuesday. Make them come out year round. Make them bring in their friends, their family, the people who, who also could be raving supporters and fans. This is Wendy. She's with Live Like Blue. She did an amazing job. And she actually had her comms and development person come in and take the course too. So sometimes we see teams join, and that's super fun. All right. So whatever your big action was, commit to doing it. Take the next step. If you have questions, you can come reach out to me over on Instagram or LinkedIn or wherever you like to hang out. And that's what I've got for you today. I know that was fast. That was a fire hose of information.
It's not enough. You didn't give us 10,000 new tips. I'm just kidding. Of course you did. I feel like I am rejuvenated. I have so many new ideas to make my welcome series 5 emails long. I love that you really broke it down so simply with the EEPO.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I've never heard of that before. And I was like, whoa, duh, makes total sense.
So I will tell you, I used to teach storytelling and more of the heroes style storytelling. And one of the reasons why I stopped is because I thought it's just problematic making the donor the hero. And that's kind of how that fleshes out, right? So it's the donor isn't the hero. To me, the donor is a partner. The donor is guided. And I felt like the easiest way was just to take the hero out of the entire storytelling process and just distill it down to, whenever I'm either making a purchase or making a donation, I'm like, what problem is this going to solve? What is the problem I have? What is the solution? Do I believe in it? If you think about anything, if you think about a mug, I'm like, why did I buy this mug? Because I love drinking cold brew all day long, but I want to make sure that it's going to stay cold all day long. And I want to make sure it's comfortable. And I want to make sure it's a color I like. Problem, solution. It is the same way with nonprofits of let's just distill it down to problem, solution, and proof. What you're doing works. So that's a bit of how I backed into it. Yeah.
I love that. That is so great. Wow. Okay. Well, like I said, I took a bunch of notes. I have a lot of things that I'm going to implement shortly after getting off this webinar. So I'm very excited. And I also would just love to tell you all a little bit more about MemoryFox. If everybody just wants to stay on for a couple more minutes, I'll just go ahead and share my screen and hop right into it. Which I love that we both use Canva. We were also talking about that when we were getting set up today. You are a nonprofit and you don't use Canva, highly, highly recommend that you consider changing that. Okay, let me just get this pulled up here. There we go. Sometimes the buttons, I feel like I click where I think I'm going to click and then something moves and it's all good. But here we go. So yeah, just real quickly about MemoryFox. This fits so well into the nonprofit welcome series idea, because I always like to ask people, if someone asks you, what is your mission? Can you show that? And the real question is, if there is a reason that you feel like you cannot show someone your mission, well, what's stopping you? And when we talk to a lot of the nonprofit professionals that we work with, we find that it comes down to 3 obstacles. Number one, people say that collecting content from your community can be like pulling teeth. It can be just really challenging and not fun. It can feel like just an extra amount of work. Next, we find that people will often say that organizing the content, even once they get it, can be frustrating and it can be time consuming. So maybe once you get a bunch of content, you saved it, some of it in your email, some of it in your drive, some of it on your computer, and it's just sort of a mess and it feels overwhelming when it comes to the organization portion. And then finally, we hear people will say, well, I collected it, maybe I've organized it, but I just need a more efficient way to share our story. So here at MemoryFox, we actually have a solution that hits all 3 of those pieces for you. Our 3 steps are collect, organize, and share, for that exact reason, because we know that your nonprofit has really great stories to tell. Just as Christina said, like, when you're the one working there, you know all the good work you're doing, but do you have the content to really show others? So just digging in a little bit into our 3 steps here, we do have, if you want to take a minute and see how our collection process works, you can go ahead and scan that QR code and check out the example that we have here for you. But really, the really great thing about our collection process is that we help you build a branded campaign that goes directly to your community. So you send this campaign directly to the person that you want to get the story from. So they'll open it up on their own device where they feel the most comfortable telling their story, or where they have their stories already saved, probably on their mobile device. And the really cool thing that we love about our product is that there's no download. You don't have to log in. There's no way that somebody is going to say, oh, well, I don't have storage on my phone to download another app. I know I do that a lot. I will not download an app because I never have storage, but for something like this, you don't need it. And then a great thing that we offer is we capture the consent info from somebody up front. And I know that can be a huge pain point for people. Once you have a story, you might think, oh, but I'm not sure if I can use it. I'm not certain if they gave consent for that. So we love to just collect the consent right up front, so you never have to worry about that. And then finally, once someone has submitted, they'll get a redirect right back to your website. So it's seamless. They can go back to your donation page, maybe it can go back to your programs page, maybe your impact page. Completely up to you. Once somebody does submit some content to your MemoryFox campaign, it is going to populate in your MemoryFox story bank. So Christina talked a lot about having a content library of photos, videos, written testimonials. We keep track of all of that for you. That is part of our organized. Some tools that you can use as part of your story bank is we offer a tagging system, so you can tag it by program, by your event, or maybe by how you plan to use content. You also have the option to do a bulk upload. So if you already have a bunch of content from past events, hopefully you do, that would be really great if you did. You could just go ahead and bulk upload those right into your MemoryFox story bank. And we also, one great thing about that is that we offer unlimited storage. So you don't have to be worried, like Christina was saying, when you have a lot of people that come into your email list, maybe some of those aren't reading your emails and you don't want to pay for them. Well, guess what? When it comes to MemoryFox, let's submit all the content because we have unlimited storage. And then in terms of sharing, we offer quite a few options that's going to help turn your content into really compelling pieces that you can share out. Actually have our own video editor that is all in MemoryFox, so you can, once the videos are in there, you can trim them, you can rotate them, you can push them, you can put them together, you can trim. Yeah, I said trim, but yeah, you have all the great things that you can do with a video editor right without leaving the platform. We also offer a story builder, so that is going to help you create a shareable web page that you can either embed in your website, or you can put it in an email where people can open it up and tell stories. There's a lot of potential in story pages, so we love those. When it comes to sharing, you also always have the option to just download the high quality original submission. So for me, I know I used to get, at my old positions, I used to get a lot of stories through my email, but they would save too small and then they would be blurry and I couldn't use them because they weren't usable. They weren't high quality. And it wasn't anybody's fault. It just was the way that it attached to the email, but it really was you really couldn't use it. So one thing about MemoryFox is you're always able to get the high quality original submission. And then finally, I know I already plugged it, but we are integrated with Canva. So when somebody does submit to your MemoryFox campaign, you are automatically going to have that populate in your Canva account as well. So it's just going to, you don't have to do the download, the upload, all of those things. It's going to populate right there. And then I know you're probably wondering about how our pricing system works, but we believe that every nonprofit has great stories to tell, and that's why we offer an equitable pricing model. So it's just based on your current $9.90. So I'd love it if anybody wants to connect and talk about what that might look like for you and your organization. Head to memoryfox.io/demo, where we have a QR code you can scan here, and I'll connect you with one of our expert storytellers. That is all I have for you all today. Thank you all for sticking around. And thank you all for coming. Christina, thank you for giving us like 1,000 wonderful tips that we can go implement. I'm literally so excited just thinking about how great my welcome series is going to be, how much more engaging my emails are going to be. That's it. Thanks for coming.
Perfect timing for year end. Like before you do have the big Giving Tuesday online push, which you will, and you'll get those email addresses right then and there. That is like, go ahead and set yourself up for success. So yeah, thanks for having me.
I love it. I love it. Thank you all so much.